Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been spending the week with the 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6. This right here is the most fuel-efficient car on the market here in 2024. This is the SE rear-wheel drive model, which means it'll do 360 miles on a charge in mixed driving. In our testing, we saw about 330 miles on the highway. That's pretty darn impressive for its 77 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's not a perfect car, but it is cheaper for 2024, and it's got a lot to like, so let's go check it out. Those of you who know me and know my reviews should know that this is a car that really sticks out to me. I appreciate not only electric vehicles in general, but I appreciate energy efficient vehicles. Just because a car is powered by electricity doesn't inherently mean it's efficient. This, however, is remarkably efficient. You can see it in the shape, very aerodynamic. Also, being rear-wheel drive and them trying to make it as light as possible, all has yielded a very efficient driving experience. So this uses less electricity than any other electric vehicle on the market. You're paying about $44,000 for this one in 2024. This 2023 model is closer to $46,000, but they dropped the price a little bit. The styling is funky, and I quite like that. I like a car that stands out, even if you don't think it's the most attractive. It's at least kind of cool. And the trunk is a decent size. This is something that we came to with the Prius that we had last week, the Prius Prime, and then we actually are swapping this out for the Prius later today, the normal Prius. This has a larger trunk area. Now you might be able to do more usable stuff with the Prius because it is a liftback, but this one's a decent trunk. However, also I do lament the power opening trunk a little bit. It's just, it adds weight and cost and complexity where you don't need it. This car should be all about being straightforward and basic. But let's take a moment to appreciate these sidewalls. 18-inch wheels and a very energy efficient wheel without using something like a little plastic wheel cover the way Tesla does. These are nice wheels. Alyssa didn't quite care for the design of them, but I like them, and they soak up bumps pretty well. Manufacturers take note, it's easy to get good ride compliance when you have 18-inch wheels. Pretty wide opening rear doors, and a ton of rear seat leg room. Now that doesn't mean headroom, but we do have a ton of rear seat leg room. So if you did need to put rear facing car seats in here, you should have a lot of room to do so. And you've got some rear vents and rear power points back here. However, unfortunately, there's not a lot of headroom. At 5'10", I'm sitting back and my head is hitting the ceiling. So this and the Prius, both not good marks for rear seat room, unfortunately. You got a little pocket right there that's kind of nifty. So you've got places to put things here and down here. And doormats are rather seat back pockets in each seat. I know a lot of people get frustrated when there's no seat back pocket on the driver's seat. So that's kind of cool. We do have a cloth in here. It's not the nicest cloth in the world, but it's also not super cheap. It's a nice color at least. Technically a very dark green, I think, a greenish black. Same with the outside. Pretty straightforward, but as long as you're okay with leaning forward a little bit, you can have adults back here. They just can't put their head all the way back. A little bit of an unfortunate situation, but this is a car that's geared towards someone who's going to be primarily just driving it on their own, maybe a passenger up front. Alyssa and I actually took this vehicle on a mini road trip this past weekend out to San Diego, and it performed well. We'll talk about that a little bit as we're driving too, but we were pretty happy in it. Pretty low ingress and egress into this car. Maybe not quite as bad as the Prius, but it is a sedan after all. This car actually has about 10,000 miles on it, and in a press car, that's a pretty high mileage figure. Those have been 10,000 hard miles. Journalists get in these cars and they don't take much care of them and they drive them really hard. So it's nice to see that overall things are holding up pretty darn well inside here. It's a pretty fun interior layout as well. You do have some physical controls right here. These are haptic buttons for the climate, so at least they're set separate from the screen, but I have had myself accidentally pressing them before. And it should be noted that the heated seat controls are right here. You got to press this and then go up on the screen after it comes up, and you see it takes some time, and then set your seat to the heat that you want it. That was bothering Alyssa to have to press that. She kept accidentally pressing this button instead of that button. So it's a bit unfortunate they couldn't have slapped some sort of physical control in there for that. But the steering wheel controls are very nice. I should say, if you do want to see a breakdown on the infotainment or the sound system, check the link below. We've got dedicated reviews on those. I like having this big storage area down here, and it's not just a big wide open area like you get in some newer EVs. No, this has these little slats, and it actually makes an area that you could put a purse or a bag. We actually had ourselves putting some stuff down there as we drove through, and that's good because in a sedan, space is a bit limited. You got a deep center storage well as well there, and a little bit of spot here. The cup holders could be a little bit larger, especially because the door pockets are not super large either. So if you're somebody who likes to ride around with a large water bottle, then you might be a little bit restricted on where you can put it. One of my biggest complaints of the Ioniq 6, no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It's 2024 here now, and we still don't have wireless phone projection. That's pretty bad, so I have had to clutter this interior with my phone cable. I do have a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto adapter that I should be putting in here. If you own a car like this and you don't have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto and you want it, check the link below. You can purchase one of those adapters. They do work pretty well. We used it in our Ford Maverick. This is a very easy and pleasant driving experience. When we took this car down to San Diego, Alyssa said, well, why don't we just take my Bolt? And I said, well, first of all, the Ioniq 6 is more energy efficient than your Bolt. So it's not even just the range. We could have made it in either car, but it was the fact that this Bolt or Ioniq 6 is more energy efficient, so it's going to cost us less to take this. Plus, it's just a nice place to be in here. The steering is nice and light. It's fairly comfortable and ergonomic driving position. I will say, because of this big 12.3-inch rectangular screen behind the steering wheel, if you have the wheel down in a nice comfortable driving position here, you can't see your speed or your range. So very blocked there. That's unfortunate. That's something nice about the new Prius with its head-up display way up top, is you can have the steering wheel really low. But in the Ioniq 6, you got to have the wheel up a little bit so that you can see your gauge cluster. You do have a one-pedal driving mode. Unfortunately, you have to press the left paddle every time you get in to engage it. You can hear it beep every time it's engaged or disengaged. And that means if you are driving in I-pedal, the one-pedal driving mode, and you're on the highway, every time you engage or disengage your cruise control, you get that beep. That's a bit frustrating. Speaking of highway driving, though, Hyundai has one of the best, how do I want to put this? Unobtrusive but confident active driving assists. So when you set the cruise control, you have an active steering assist, and unlike a more complicated system like Super Cruise or Tesla's Autopilot or Ford's Blue Cruise, where you engage it and it's watching your eyes and when it's engaged it works really well, this simply turns on or off with your cruise control, or even without your cruise control. You can see it right now. This is it steering. I'm still operating the throttle right now, but oh, and it lost itself right there in that opening. But it's just kind of in the background. It sort of helps drive the car for you and keep it within the lanes. It's nice to have when you're driving along and eating an apple or getting some water or changing the radio, whatever, to have the car helping steer as you're going down the highway. The big 12.3-inch center screen there, as well as the climate control and volume controls and everything, it's pretty far away. So here again at 5'10", I'm having to reach forward way off of my seat to touch anything on the screen. I wish it were a little bit closer and easier to get to while you're driving. Not the end of the world, but something to consider from an ergonomic standpoint. The seats are power adjusted in this SE model on the driver's side, manual for the passenger. I'm just fine with that. Again, we need to get to a price point here for this car, and that is one of the appeals of it, is the fact that yes, it is the most energy efficient vehicle on the market, but it's also pretty competitively priced. This model, like I said, coming in about $43,500, $44,000 after destination, and you're getting that 360 miles of mixed driving range, 330 miles on the highway. You're getting navigation, you're getting Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you're getting heated seats, a heated steering wheel, dual zone climate control. You're getting a nice car to spend time in and drive. In fact, you're even getting laminated, dual pane laminated glass up here in the front. Do we have it in the rear? Let's see. Yes, we have it in the rear as well. So this is a pretty quiet car to be in on the highway too. I'd say quite a bit quieter than the Prius. However, one thing we don't have that we see in a lot of other models is power up and down windows for any of the windows outside of the driver. So kind of weird there that they couldn't have included that. I mean, it's just I suppose you got to add a little extra cost in the resistors and the windows and everything, but something you are missing here at this price point. The other thing that's more egregious for this car is the quality of the sound system. This is, for the price, the worst sound system I've ever tested. Now, it's maybe a smidge better than the 4-speaker system in the Volkswagen Jetta that we reviewed earlier this year. However, the Jetta costs a hair over $20,000. This car costs over $40,000. It's hard to listen to your music in this vehicle. If you're someone who likes to listen to loud, more complex music, even softer music. Alyssa and I were driving this around a few nights before Christmas Eve, and we were listening to Christmas music, and we had to turn it down because it just didn't sound good. That's frustrating in a car that costs this much, because you do have such a pleasant experience in here. Why is the audio quality not better? But fortunately, when you're not listening to your music, listen how quiet this is. 50 miles per hour. Barely hear any wind, very subtle road noise as well. This is a really nice car to be in, and they did a lot of things really well with it. Now let's get into a little bit of market analysis. You're paying $44,000 for this car here in 2024. What are some other similar type of cars that you could get instead? Well, a fully loaded Honda Accord Touring Hybrid, that's going to run you $40,000. And I did the math based on the Accord Hybrid's fuel economy and the energy efficiency here for the Ioniq 6. And here at California, in California, for their electricity rates and fuel costs on average, you're only going to be saving, the average driver rather, will save about $600 in fuel costs per year driving this over that Accord Hybrid. Now, that Accord Hybrid costs about $3,500 less to purchase, purchase price to purchase price. So it's going to take you about 6 years or so to make up the difference in costs driving that Accord versus driving this Ioniq 6. Now, that's assuming that you're not getting any sort of government incentives and money off in order to buy the Ioniq 6. At that point, it'd be really tough for me because the Accord is a nicer car to be in. It's quieter, it's larger, it's more comfortable, it's got better technology. I mean, looks are kind of subjective. I think this is a little more interesting looking, but I think the Accord's a little bit more objectively handsome. For me, in that situation, with no government incentives, I'm getting the Accord. I love driving electric vehicles, I really do, but it's hard to argue with a car that you can drive for 1,000 miles in a day without having to stop for more than 5 minutes if you needed to. But, I mean, for many people, that doesn't happen very often. And the Ioniq 6, coupled with its very energy efficient range figure, also has one of the fastest charging figures on the market. The fact that you can do up to 350 kilowatt charging on this platform, I mean, you're going to be able to road trip pretty darn easily as long as you can find reputable 350 kilowatt chargers, which isn't the easiest thing to do here at the beginning of 2024. For anyone who's going to do a lot of road tripping on a solely electric vehicle, I still recommend purchasing a Tesla because their supercharger network is just more advanced than the SAE charger network. Now, I know that things are opening up, the supercharger network's opening up to other cars and everybody's moving to NACS, but here at this moment when you're watching this review, it's just plain and simple easier to own a Tesla than it is to own a non-Tesla for road tripping. But circling back to a day-to-day use situation, you do also have to consider that the benefit of having an electric vehicle over something like the Accord Hybrid is never having to go to a fuel station. That's one of my wife's favorite parts about owning the Chevy Bolt, is that she never has to get gas. She always heads out to work with a full tank, if you will, in the morning. And she's never going to do more than 200 miles of driving in a day for going home or back and forth to work or anything like that. And we have access to other vehicles. So that really works out well for us. But we got government incentives to buy our Bolt, and we wouldn't have bought it without those incentives. So what about something more like the Prius plug-in, the Prime that we had recently? Costs just about the same as this car. I would purchase this over the Prime because the Prime was remarkably less efficient than this car. The Prime got about 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour on our highway test. This got, 4.3? So remarkably more efficient on the highway. City's going to be more efficient in this car as well. It's got enough range that I could do 95% of my daily driving, probably even higher than that, without ever going to a gas station here in this car. Whereas sometimes I'd have to, like if I wanted to go up to LA and back, I'm going to have to be kicking into gasoline on the Prius Prime, and that gas is going to go bad after 4 or 5 months if I don't use it all anyway, so it's important to use it. This has more usable space inside it than the Prius. the tech suite's better in the Prius, and the sound system's better in the Prius. So I could see the reasons for getting the Prius. For just the right sort of shopper, there's going to be advantages for the Prius. And the Prius is likely going to be more reliable, 100,000 mile plus, than the Ioniq 6. But the Ioniq 6 is more fun to drive, being rear-wheel drive. It's quieter and more refined than the Prius when you have to kick into the engine on the Prius. I mean, you got to remember, driving that Prius Prime on its gasoline motor is coarse. It doesn't sound pleasant, and it's remarkably not powerful. I don't know if I want to go as far as to say slow, but it's not great. So who is the Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive best for? I say it is best for somebody who's doing a lot of miles of driving, but doesn't go over, I'm going to say comfortably 300 miles in a day. If you're somebody who maybe has a long commute, you're driving out, you're driving back, you're doing a lot of driving throughout the day, but you come back every night to somewhere where you can charge back up on level 2 and get back to your 90 or 100% charge level at home, and then head out and do that driving again the next day, this is one of the best car options for you. It is a shame that we can't get the SE rear-wheel drive model, or at least I should just say this rear-wheel drive 360 mile model with the nicer sound system. The Bose isn't fantastic in this car, but it's sure a heck of a lot better than this garbage 6-speaker system. Not only are you going to be able to do a lot of miles comfortably in this car, but you can do them efficiently also. You're going to be spending less money on electricity, because people got to remember, electric vehicles are not free to drive unless you work somewhere with free charging, which is becoming more and more rare. It still costs money to fuel your electric vehicle, but it's going to cost less money to fuel this Ioniq 6 than any other vehicle on the market. So if you are somebody who puts on a lot of miles, get this. It's fun to drive it around with rear-wheel drive. It's comfortable. It's got a lot of places for your things, and yeah, as long as you have a good place to charge it up and you don't have to rely heavily on the public charging network, this is going to be a pleasant ownership experience. I like the car. I'm happy to see where Hyundai is going with it, and I hope this encourages more manufacturers to push down the price of electric vehicles and keep building that range number up, because it's exciting to see where we're going. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on this Hyundai Ioniq 6, do check the link below. We've got that infotainment test, the range test, members only sound test, full sound test. What else? This full review, the Winding Road Day Drive. We've covered the car a lot, and I quite like it. And it comes in green. That's important to note too. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, efficient car on.